Number 3.
If you're a little hard of hearing, the next contender in our countdown of the most extreme animal inventors is just for you. Put down your ear trumpet and get ready for a creature that specializes in listening to love songs. On warm summer nights, male crickets rub their wings together to attract a mate. Unfortunately, it isn't just female crickets that respond to the call. The pulses of sound are a beacon for a parasitic fly that lays its eggs inside the crickets. The developing maggot burrows into the male and grows, eventually eating him from the inside out, before hatching into the fly called Ormia. To determine how it tracks down crickets in the darkness, scientists harmlessly attached it to a mouse ball and watched what it did when they played cricket calls from different directions. The results of this rollerball running were surprising, according to Cornell University neurobiologist Ron Hoy.
What we discovered was that the fly has an unusual ear. In fact, it's absolutely novel in the animal kingdom. No other animal has an ear like this. It's pretty outrageous for flies to be hearing anyway. Most people don't think about flies and hearing. They think of flies seeing you and chasing you across the room or getting out of the way of the fly swatter. They don't do that by hearing, they use their eyes. But in this case, we've got a fly which hears.
Unlike all other flies that rely on sensory hairs on their legs, Ormia has ears on its chest. This unique eardrum is 100 times more sensitive to male cricket love songs than the ears of female crickets. And Ormia's ears can even determine the direction the calls come from, unlike most of our mechanical listening devices.
The problem with most hearing aids now is that they're omnidirectional. That is, they're as sensitive to sound coming from the front as the sides or the back. And this is not at all natural, because in our natural hearing conditions, we have a certain amount of directionality. If we can put this back into a hearing aid, this would be a real boon for people, because you'd be able to focus your hearing. That's our aim, to make a really tiny microphone to insert into a hearing aid, which can then be inserted into the ear canal.
And if this fly does inspire us to make an improved hearing aid, our next contender could certainly help fasten it into place.
Number 2.
Even with automated suction feet, climbing up a wall of glass is hard work, unless you're the animal running into number 2 in the countdown. The 4 fantastic feet of the gecko can cling to almost any surface. Unlike other climbing animals, the gecko has no need for suction cups, Velcro hooks, or sticky secretions. Researchers at Lewis and Clark College found that the gecko's clinging power comes from the structure of tiny velvety hairs on each of its feet. The sticking power is so strong that, theoretically, a gecko walking on the ceiling could support a backpack weighing 90 pounds. Imagine if we had feet like a gecko. It would make cleaning windows so much easier. On each foot, we'd have a ridged pad, with each ridge covered in what looked like tiny scales, but are actually more than 150,000 hairs, the ends of which are further divided up to 1,000 times. Each gecko foot has more than 1 billion of these split ends. They're so small that their molecules can embrace the molecules in the glass. so the gecko almost becomes part of the object it's clinging to. Researchers are hoping that one day, artificial gecko hairs will revolutionize the way we stick tiny things together. They could be used for microsurgery or picking up delicate computer chips. Geckos are already inspiring new research in robotics. This prototype has sticky feet, enabling it to climb glass, although not quite as well as a gecko. Obviously, it'll take more work before these mecho geckos can match the real lizard's extraordinary climbing abilities. But at least we're getting close, unlike our efforts to mimic the most extreme animal innovation in the countdown.
Number 1.
Our most extreme animal inventor has created something that could have come straight from a science fiction movie. Bringing popsicles back to life is only possible in Hollywood, and if you're the animal that's number 1 in the countdown. Winter is a huge challenge for small animals. Some creatures hibernate, but they still have to generate enough warmth to stop themselves from freezing, because as soon as ice forms inside their bodies, they're in big trouble. Inside cells, ice crystals grow like tiny daggers. They burst through membranes, causing the terrible tissue destruction that mountaineers call frostbite. For most animals, freezing means certain death, but not for the animal lurking in the leaf litter of the forests of North America. Hopping in to number 1 in the countdown is the wood frog. Researchers studying the frog are hoping to discover just how this little amphibian can survive the long winter months by sticking it in a deep freeze. Don't worry, it's not going to hurt the frog, even though it's a cold-blooded animal and can't generate heat to stay warm. When the first tiny ice crystal appears, it sets off a chain reaction that turns the frog into an ice block in only 24 hours. However, the frog is prepared. Each cell in its body is packed with glucose, a natural antifreeze. Also, the frog pumps special proteins into the fluid between the cells that attract the ice, helping it to freeze quickly. That way, the crystals are kept small enough to prevent injury. The whole thing happens so fast, even blood freezes as the ice races towards the heart. The frog may look dead, but inside, the cells are still alive, nourished by the same glucose that prevented them from freezing.